Thank you all. Can you all hear me okay? All right. I love this conference because we have so many great conversations. I meet so many cool people. I was talking to the auditorium itself right before this, and I was like, hey, who's your favorite writer? And I should have known. Contemporary fiction, Gary Garthel May. Yeah, I'm still workshopping that one. I'll be here all 12 minutes. Thank you, Leah, Gwen, and Adam, for having me and your hard work during the year to make this happen. My staff friends, I am so glad to be part of such a cool collective of artists. You all have no idea how much you each mean to me. I would like to extend to Jonathan a both formal yet lighthearted apology for my Paul Walker in Fast and Furious impersonation, as well as a happy birthday. I'd also like to thank everyone here today in the audience. During the pandemic, kind of like a CD, I realized, when music, even though it's on it, it doesn't exist unless you put it in the CD player and there's a listener. Stories, books, they don't really exist until someone picks them up and starts reading them. And I'm really grateful to be here with you all to help make this story exist. This reading is dedicated to my parents. I am so grateful to them for reasons about today, which they know. I'm going to read from my novel in progress. It seems everyone is doing reboots and sequels these days, so I decided to get in on the action. The Bible, the sequel. Translator's preface. And lo, after more than 2,000 years, Jesus finally came. And she made a podcast. She did a vlog. She gave out her email address. She made herself available for Q&A sessions with ordinary people in the park, with her friends on the basketball court, at chess club, with random humans at the nearby small groups and Bible study classes. The second coming was indeed at hand, with a well-branded online platform. Jesus Christ took out Google Ads, paid and boosted, each with a question and a direct call to action. Ever wonder who was the other person that turned around and saw Lot's wife was like a pillar of salt? Ever wonder why we need to be saved from our own God? Ever wonder who is listening into all those conversations in the Bible between Jesus and God? Ever wonder why miracles are so rare now that we all have smartphones? Well, Jesus came back, baby, and she was ready to talk. This very story is the absolutely true account of the second coming of Jesus Christ. It happened a few months ago. If you're still here, well, more on that later. I've got your answers. That's why Jesus came back. Haven't we waited long enough? Won't it be nice to finally put a lid on the whole Christianity thing? And isn't it nice that Jesus decided to return in 2019? When human beings were far more understanding and civilized than her last visit. She might not even have to die at the end of her own story like last time. Marcel Duchamp, translator. Kissimmee, Florida, December 2019. The New Old Testament. Really sorry about a lot of the stuff in the Old Testament. The New Testament, the Gospel according to Jesus, chapter 1. Listen, you've got it all wrong. There is no God, at least not like the cartoon God in the sky you've been advertising. And there's no hell either. Everyone is going to heaven. So I command you to stop teaching people to be afraid of death. What happens after death is fine, and it's just fine for absolutely everybody. Will you promise me you'll start telling people this in your next sermon? The church boardroom rustled with uncomfortable bodies in the humming AC silence. The building itself creaked in the late summer wind, and the hallway beyond, she heard the footfall of the eavesdropping assistant, the one who had scheduled her meeting at Orlando's Triumph and Salvation Baptist megachurch. It was a Monday morning. The collection of elders and deacons glanced at each other, smugly, uncomfortably, aggressively. "Miss Jesus," Pastor Lynn said, folding his hands on the faux wood-stained Formica table in front of him. He was trying to think of how he could be kind, how he could show God's witness to this woman. In his head, he was also planning how to scold his wife, the assistant, about scheduling this meeting. Wasting his time. The name in the meeting on his calendar had said, "Donation Meeting." But this woman, who'd introduced herself as Jesus Christ, had walked right in and started on a blasphemous elevator pitch. "Wait," Jesus said, "I know exactly what you are all thinking." For an instant, Pastor Lynn and all the elders were quite terrified. They shifted in their office chairs. Some of them had been thinking human thoughts. They were quite ashamed of the quite human thoughts that they had been thinking. Jesus leaned back in her chair and laughed, pointing at them. "You should have seen the looks on your faces." "No, I don't mean literally. I don't literally know what you're thinking, and I don't really care. However, this God can read my thoughts deal is one of the common thought patterns among your church that I've come to clarify. The Bible is metaphorical, allegorical. It's a story. It's a piece of fiction. If I were a character in a short story right now, I'd be just as real as the Jesus in the Bible. I thought it made it simple with the parables in my last book. But no, you guys go... But no, you guys go and take everything literally when I literally said not to take it literally." "Did you even read my last book?" "Miss Jesus," Pastor Lynn started. "No," she said, "I know what you're thinking. If we change our line about hell and start telling folks everyone's going to heaven, that it's all good after they die, well, what will folks have to worry about? What will they have to be afraid of? And if they have nothing to be afraid of, and this is where I can tell what you're thinking, if they have nothing to fear, that means they'll stop paying you all for afterlife insurance. You'll have to get real jobs and stop chilling in this nice, enormous building all week." Pastor Lynn stood, furious, trembling, shocked. He walked to the DVD rack under the 90-inch flat screen, next to the 2 brand-new Apple desktops. Outside in the morning heat, a half-dozen construction workers were digging a ditch, using a walk-behind trencher on a flat stretch of earth that would eventually become the Faith Launch Youth Entertainment Center. "Miss Jesus," he said with a professional smile, "can I invite you to take one of our New Lambs Sunday school courses? We'd love to have you back this coming Sunday. I can even call Brother Isaiah. Sneak you into his class. Spots are always coveted. He does a great unit on Revelations." "You're not listening," Jesus said. "Besides," Pastor Lynn said, "I mean, we'd really need some clearer signs you're actually Jesus. We'd need some proof." He laughed, taking off his little glasses, running a hand across his buzz cut. He wore jeans, a shirt-sleeve Tommy Bahama button-down, and pale sneakers. "Oh, now you ask for proof," Jesus said. But Pastor Lynn cut her off. "You're just some girl who went to UCF and started a podcast." "No offense. I mean, it's an interesting project from the theological perspective, well-researched, but, well, why don't you come back on Sunday and join us for Sunday school?" Pastor Lynn smiled a condescending little smile and called out sharply for his wife/office assistant. Before Jesus could even ask them if they had any questions they wanted to ask her, before she could even begin to address the proof thing, Bethany, the pastor's wife, opened the door and motioned for her. The elders and deacons all stood. "Well, if you ever want to come ask me questions," Jesus said, "I'm in Kiwanis Park on Sunday and Wednesday evenings by the pavilion and the basketball courts. We might come see you sometime," Pastor Lynn smiled. She exhaled and left the room, led by the assistant. Bethany had frizzy hair tied in the back with a ribbon. She wore a patterned floral dress down to the floor. Jesus couldn't see her shoes, but they sounded on the carpet like scuffy flats. They got to the enormous glass doors at the front of the megachurch. Bethany said, "Here you go, hon." Her voice was barely audible, a thin little whisper. She turned and was about to rush back down the hall toward the elder's room. "Wait," Jesus said, and the pastor's wife turned. "Don't you have any questions for me? It's not every day you get to talk to Jesus Christ in person." The pastor's wife tilted her head and held her hands in front of her. The enormous, empty building behind her felt creepy, eerie. Who needed all that space? What did they do with it? What happened in here when it wasn't Sunday? I mean, Jesus said, usually people have a question or two to ask when they meet me, stuff they've just been wondering about, but have been afraid to ask. Jesus waited a moment. The woman started to speak, and there was a cough or choke in her voice. Then she clutched her arm. You know, Jesus said, the usual stuff. What's the meaning of life? Why does God let bad things happen? Can God read my thoughts? Is hell real? If God's all powerful, can he make a rock too heavy for himself to lift? I can answer anything for you right now. Seriously, anything you got. The woman shook her head, slowly at first, but then more viciously from side to side. A frown formed on her face, and she creased her eyes at Jesus. And Jesus felt like a kid who'd gotten in trouble at school, the way the principal's assistant had looked down at her and shaken her head, obviously having something more to say, but not saying it. That feeling of being a kid and being small, unseen, and completely misunderstood. Say something, Jesus almost shouted, surprising even herself by the loudness of her voice there in the enormous foyer. I'll pray for you, Bethany said definitively, clutching her fists. She turned and rushed away down the hall to the rustling of her skirts, and holy fuck, isn't that a sound that's best left in novels from like 200 years ago? Afterward, there was a stillness as Jesus was left alone in the entrance of the megachurch. She heard the HVAC system rustle and groan in the walls. Construction noises cronked and banged from outside. She heard the sound of a door shutting far off. Besides that, she was absolutely alone. Would anyone get mad at her if she just explored the megachurch for a minute? Pause. Joke. Why didn't the pastor allow Wi-Fi to be installed in his church? Because he didn't want to compete with an invisible power that actually worked. Thank you. And next up, Kaela Mei Shing Garvin.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. I want to take a moment to thank Adam, Gwen, and Leah for having me on staff this summer. This is my first summer on staff here at Sewanee, and it's just been such a pleasure. I want to thank my fellow staff members for making me feel so welcome and at home during my first year. You're amazing people, and I'm just so excited to have met you all. And I'm excited to read for you all today, so thank you for being here. So we'll be doing an excerpt from a new play that's still under construction, still in development, and we'll be reading scenes 1, 2, and 4 from my play, Torque Bitch.
Sarah, 15, she, her, first-generation Cuban-American, platform flip-flops.
Janelle, 16, she, her, second-generation Chinese-American, Payless ballet flats.
Bean, 16, they, them, later in life, recently immigrated German, platform Doc Martens.
Science boy, 17, he, him, first generation Indian American, pretty hot, old New Balances.
Setting, California's Silicon Valley, 2006. The area is changing rapidly, bucolic in some areas, overdeveloped in others, with sprawling tech campuses taking root in suburban centers. Wealth gap increasing, SF-based Gap clothing losing to Abercrombie, mom-and-pop fuzz shops phased out by chains. 1, science classroom.
Holy heck.
That was intense.
Really informative.
Holy heck.
I think it could be.
I think it might be.
I think it is our time to shine.
So you're in then? It's us three? I don't mean to presume.
Oh, you know what they say about presuming.
You've got it wrong.
Exactly.
We're gonna win the regional science fair.
Hold up, nerds. Did I hear you're interested in the regional science fair?
You wish I was a nerd. And we're gonna win the regional science fair.
I did not hear that. I did not hear that because I'm gonna win the regional science fair.
Yeah, right, loser.
We're gonna wipe the floor with ya!
You won't know what hit you, science boy.
I have a name.
And it's science boy, science boy.
That's extremely hurtful.
Really?
Absolutely not. Who do you think I am? I was raised to have thick skin. Really thick, just like a hard cartilaginous mass of epidermis.
And that's why you're called science boy.
So, what are you gonna experiment on, SB?
Alas, a nickname. Oh. You can't bully me out of my well-deserved win, nor can you distract me with your feminine wiles. I'm not kidding.
He's not kidding?
I don't think he's ever been kidding in his life.
No sense of humor, this guy.
Yet, I always get the last laugh, you'll see.
You bested us for the last time, science boy.
We'll ensnare you with our feminine wiles next round.
Believe whatever lets you sleep at night. Have a great 10 winks. Excellent.
My genomic sequence has me set up for excellent REM patterns.
I bet he doesn't even know what that means.
I like to give him a hard time, but science boy does know his way around
Science?
biology.
Oh.
You were born for the regional science fair.
Well, my grandmother always did say I have a keen analytical mind.
And I'm good at forming questions. Like, I just love to question everything around me. Why is school so long? Why is math so hard? When will this cruel war be over?
Against Iraq?
It's the title of a young adult historical fiction from our childhood.
Oh, right. We read it last year, the one about Valley Forge.
The Civil War.
I'm so glad we all reside within the same niche.
I have eczema.
So are you in?
I'm in.
I'm in.
And you already know I'm in. Let the planning commence.
2, the sleepover. Sarah's house, sleeping bags, popcorn strewn across the floor, something like Grease playing on a small TV in the background. Bean, manic on the exercise machine.
My brother was in Boy Scouts. I mean, he still is in Boy Scouts. They built go-karts last year. I think we have an extra one in the garage.
Your parents keep a lot of stuff around.
We can use it later, right? Ecologically sound.
Your parents have a lot of stuff.
This treadmill is great.
Thud.
So if we're using your brother's old nasty go-kart, what's the experiment then?
It's not nasty. It's not even built yet.
It's probably at least kind of nasty, right?
Boy Scouts are nasty.
Yeah, Boy Scouts are super
I
nasty.
don't know, you guys. They just build sheds.
And ban homosexuals.
It's got to be something physics related. If we've got a go-kart. Not sure I know what physics is. Am I wrong?
You nailed it.
So we're trying to see how fast we can make this aerodynamic hunk of metal go.
It's scrap wood, and that's one option.
Velocity.
That is a word, yes.
For speed.
Kind of.
We see what kind of maximum velocity we can obtain with different kinds of powering tools.
Power tools?
No, like powering tools, like engines or whatever.
I think we should make this go-kart run on power tools.
Ew, how would we even do that?
Don't say ew.
I don't mean it like ew, I mean it like ew.
You know you can express your disgust in more productive ways.
Fine, fine. I love the power tool idea.
Now you're just capitulating.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
So, if we're in agreement about speed
Velocity!
and the power tool situation, then what is our experimental question?
How can we destroy the demoralizing fabric of today's society?
With a go-kart?
Why not?
No reason. I think it's admirable, really. Very experimental.
Fine. How frickin' fast can we get the sucker to go when connected to a power drill?
A power drill?
Don't say frickin'.
A power drill. Actually, a power drill. It's perfect. The drill thingy turns, the axle turns, the wheels turn.
A whole lot of turning.
To every season.
It's there is a season.
Yeah, of course. Perfect. Brava.
Where are we gonna get a drill? I don't have a drill.
Oh, we can lift one from the Sears in San Antonio.
No, we're not stealing anything.
Yeah, we're not stealing anything.
But what's robbing a bank compared to founding one? What's murdering a man compared to employing one?
Huh?
Must be a German proverb.
I think I paraphrased it. Translation. You.
My dad totally has a drill we can use. It's in his garage. We can go take a look now if we want.
Your dad is gonna let us use his power tools?
I mean, not without supervision.
Well, that frickin' defeats the point.
What? Did you think we were gonna just like wield power tools with nobody around?
That's the dream. That's the American dream.
You must be new here. Okay, so we build this go-kart from the skeletal remains of your brother's homophobic male cult and try to make it go fast by applying a power drill to... where?
Eureka.
That's the experimental question.
Let's see the drill.
Follow me.
The science team exits. Sarah re-enters with a mighty drill aloft, comically large and shiny, flanked by Bean and Janelle, Charlie's angels on either side. Whirl. Blackout. 4, building the cart. Bean, Sarah, and Janelle stand in front of a half-built chassis, cheap wood surrounding them in piles. Sarah reads off a Boy Scout instruction manual. All 3 are wearing some kind of construction uniform, maybe Thunderbirds jackets, coveralls, matching bandanas. They're working hard.
So now we connect piece J to piece 2Q13, the little round one.
There are approximately 56 little round ones.
That's the name of the game, team.
I just don't see why your dad can't help us out with this.
He does know how to use tools.
And we are kind of floundering.
I mean, my dad can help. My dad will help. He's very busy.
Tech is hard.
He can help. He'll help. Just not today.
He's very tall. Hand me the wrench.
There's no wrench.
The thingy, the cross thingy.
Philip's head.
Totally.
Assembly.
There, you see? One step closer.
Nice work, Janelle.
That's what comes from having Science Boy as a lab partner.
I am so sorry about that.
Yeah, we really fumbled that one for you. Did I use the word right?
You did. Overall, it was abhorrent, but I do feel more knowledgeable than before class.
Whatever, there's no way Science Boy is more fun than us.
Then we.
Yeah, you're loads of fun.
I just don't want you to think that we wouldn't choose you.
Yeah, we'd totally choose you in a heartbeat.
I don't want you to feel left out. I know it must have been hard to be called out like that.
Yeah, we were all passing notes. All of us were committing the crime.
It wasn't a big deal. Though now I'm stuck with him for the whole semester.
Maybe Dr. V will let us rotate.
I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone.
But he's smart.
If there's one thing Science Boy's got going for him, it's that. And he's kind of funny.
Science boy? Funny?
Not hilarious or anything, but like, okay, so he made this joke about the abiotic ecosystem components.
I can't wait to hear it.
I don't know if I can keep being mean to him and also keep being his lab partner.
Janelle, come on. That's rule number 1 of high school survival.
Maybe I wasn't built for that. And the joke was genuinely funny.
Did you laugh out loud?
Not all jokes require a focal response.
I think this piece goes here.
Genius.
Adept.
All we gotta do is follow this Boy Scout handbook. You see? Just a few small tweaks and we'll be done in no time. Teamwork makes the dream work.
I think this might be the axle.
You see? We're on a roll.
And this is that connective board.
Piece 3QA9626.
Exactly. And if we put this piece here...
And this piece here...
They surround the go-kart, hammering, drilling, kicking up a cloud of dust. It's Pigpen or cartoon fisticuffs, action obscured by action. They step back, and there it is, a fully realized go-kart gleaming in the California sun.
Did we do it?
We might have done it.
By George, I think we did it.
Let's ride! Thank you. Hello. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Leah and Gwen and Adam for all your hard work, to the staff who are both silly and deeply profound, and dear friends. Thank you to the faculty and everyone who has gone on an early morning hike with Norris and I. And thank you to Alex for working on this piece with me last year. I'm going to read a piece about going back to teach at my old high school that I attended. And I'm also going to play a song that is also about the experience. So I'm going to read a little bit and then play a little bit of music. Okay. A few years ago, I taped a blue Post-it note over my desk. It read, "Proclivity, a tendency to choose or do something regularly, an inclination or predisposition toward a particular thing." When I first put it on the wall, I had tacked it there with salmon-colored tape, fresh and clean,
clustered around notes from friends written on cream-colored paper, photographs from childhood, a found black and white photo of a man sliding headfirst down a water slide wearing a tiny Speedo. There's a note that says, "Silly as the holiest of all states," from my friend Megan. I've had it there for 4 years, the same blue note on the same blue wall. At this point, it hovers tapeless, almost falling, dust collecting along the top of it. When read without context, the definition of proclivity seems ordinary enough. It is synonymous with a habit or a pattern, and yet proclivity often sounds more sinister than a pattern. This pattern is dangerous. This decision you are making over and over again may not be good for you, it seems to say. Usually the word is used in context to more harmful habits of the mind and body, and it is usually used about people rather than by people. If you search for it on the Atlantic's website, you'll find it in reference to those who use guns for violence, Lindsay Lohan's proclivity towards trouble, or even the British newspaper's proclivity towards phone hacking. There's always a hint of not rightness to the word. Back in October of 2018, I took a job at my alma mater, Christ Presbyterian Academy, as a long-term sub for the high school librarian. The school is a part of the Presbyterian Church of America, which was founded in 1973. It's split from the other branch of the Presbyterian Church, based on the decision that women cannot lead in the church and that the scriptures are fixed and immutable. This just means that only men can become pastors or leaders in the church, and that this interpretation of scripture, as interpreted by the men in leadership, is set in stone. The Bible must be read literally in this tradition, and it also means that they do not affirm anyone in the queer community as leaders in their church. And even most recently, as December of 2021, they decided that celibate gay men cannot lead because they are still following a pattern of sin. I understood this school on a deep level. In high school, I was senior chaplain. I organized our chapel speakers throughout the year, although I would take back some of those speakers in a heartbeat. I won best all around. While I had changed and outgrown a lot of my beliefs since graduation, I was a model of an excellent student at CPA. I returned because my favorite educators taught there, specifically a literature teacher who was formative in my love for reading. And when I moved back to Nashville after college, she asked to mentor me as a teacher. So I returned to the same school in a new building. The tiny red brick had been painted white and turned into a middle school. The new high school building was large and covered in glass windows. And for a semester, we taught Oedipus and the things they carried together. And towards the end of the semester, the position of high school librarian popped up. She convinced me to take it, telling me that we could collaborate all the time. At the time of the decision, I had recently discovered my own queerness. Because of this late discovery and the slow shedding of my own internalized homophobia, I still spent time in spaces that did not support that part of me. And that's part of why I took the library job. It was only for a semester, and I felt that I might not be dating for the duration of the job, and therefore I would not have to contend with that aspect of my identity in terms of the school. How little I knew of how much we unknowingly embody. So I took the job, 4 months at CPA as a librarian. Here's what I will tell you about the students. They were special. I had a group of 9th grade girls who would stand around my desk and gossip and chat before school started. One of them would ask for book recommendations and then never read them. They left me notes, "Miss B is Bea." Some would recommend songs. One student would sit and play Billie Eilish covers with me after school, while the other students quietly did their work in the library. I once had a 9th grade boy run around the library dancing to Shakira with only one other student in the room, glancing at me the whole time as if challenging me to stop his wild behavior, but I never did. I loved these kids. They were silly and smart and goofy and shy. I would post a new poem each week on my desk, which only one student ever read. I would order covertly secular novels into the library, and I snuck out the very conservative titles such as Recovering Biblical Manhood and Womanhood and I Kiss Dating Goodbye. There were a handful of students who would walk into the room and just say things such as, "I don't think there's anything wrong with being gay," or "My friend is gay and I don't think that's a problem," aloud while walking past my desk. They must have had some sense that I was a safe space. So that's where I'm going to stop that essay. And I ended up leaving the school, and this song, I would say, is more about processing leaving that space. So I'm going to get my guitar. Last year I played a song about Riverdale, and this is not a goofy song. I wish I had more goofy songs in my Rolodex, but just the one. When I lean too much, looking for another thing to trust, even though I know that you are still here. Haven't had much practice yet, figured it so I would not forget that I made you, and did you made me. What I fear is loss and hurt. What I fear is never seeing her. Just how I tread you, how I see what has laid here. Oh, spring is over. Oh, spring is over, and I am undone. I am undone. Love that I have too much. Love that I do not have enough. Call out my neighbors and friends. See what you can pretend. Oh, spring is over. I am undone. Look how I wear myself. Look at the sun. Look how I see it. Look how I wear it. Forgiveness that I oft hold back. Who are you to tell me that I lack some sort of melody or song that you know? Thank you. Please. Please welcome Chelsea Whitton.
Hi. Hey, everybody. I'm Chelsea. Everyone that's been to the French house knows me. I want to start out by thanking Leah and Gwen and Adam and the wonderful staff, current and former, who are with us on the mountain today, and also the faculty and the conferees for their talent and for their kindness. I'm so grateful to have found this place and to have such people to know and share it with every summer. I also want to thank my friends and mentors who've helped me shape these poems. Mark Jarman, who's a longtime faculty member at the conference but is not here this summer, had a lot of input in some of these poems, and Rebecca Lindenberg, who is here currently at the conference, has given me invaluable guidance on pretty much every poem I read today. So yeah, thanks to all of you. And now I probably won't have any more banter between my poems. Here we go. This one is called The Mermaid. Oh, I will chatter for one more minute. This one's called The Mermaid Parade, and it's kind of set in and around the Coney Island Mermaid Parade, which is a thing I used to go to every year when I lived in New York. And it is a sestina. The Mermaid Parade. Some gulls are circling my friends. The ocean is a dull jade green. Here comes the wait, when I go like this, can you hear me? No? Okay, let me move this. Okay, sorry, I'll start over. The Mermaid Parade. Some gulls are circling my friends. The ocean is a dull jade green. Here comes the tall fin of a cycle. Look how the wonder wheel rewinds. We tip coconut rum into radiant slush drinks, toast King Neptune and the Mermaid Queen. Neptune waggles his trident at my friends. The Mer Queen wears radiant red anemones in her jade green hair. The August air unwinds my own pin curls. The cycle's circling fen recedes as cyclists in silver suits flank Neptune's roofless coupe. I pause, rewind the memory, find my friends beside the clock, the jade green ceiling of Grand Central's radiant main concourse is still radiant from wherever I am in this cycle, before or after the jade green surf divides for King Neptune, divides me from my friends, collapses time. Whoever winds this clock, I think, must wind the world itself. Even the radiant Mer Queen turns. Do my friends fathom yet just what this cycle's sharp fin means? King Neptune comes before the jade green flood. We put on jade green lipstick whilst the Q train winds us deeper into Brooklyn. Neptune, meanwhile, rides time's radiant fin in a sesquicentennial cycle. When the parade ends, my friends blow jade green kisses at the radiant blushing boy who winds the cyclone. Neptune rises. I will miss my friends. All right. Right? It's a vibe. It's similar vibes to Sewanee, I think. Okay. I'm going to cut a poem because I talked too long. This one is called Productive Fallacies. My grandmother hated wind chimes. She wouldn't accept the gift of one, said they sound like sadness, and I say so too, but I don't hate them. After all, I don't hate winter, don't hate last year's empty birds' nests or those ancient koi iced into Brooklyn's fountains. I know fish aren't sad themselves. They only take my sadness into them, away from me. They only strap it to their piebald backsides, bear it winter long. Their bellies drag the pond scum floor in slow, cold circles, with or without the additional weight of my sadness. They aren't sad. They nibble last year's water lily root and dream of spring. I'm from where loblolly pines line coastward highways, scab-skinned and too tall, tough as weeds. They loom like cursed men. They look like sadness. They look like they're damned to live forever lonely, all together, set apart, like an unhappy family. But I know they aren't unhappy. If they do feel anything, I'll bet it's pride. They have struggled and survived, and now they drink first when the clouds part. They have earned their patch of sky, and still, the raw-eyed sight of them rips sadness out of me at 60 miles per hour, rain or shine. I could not contain it if I tried, and I have. I've tried it 30 times, 15 vacations come and gone along that sun-bombed highway. The loblollies get to me every time. Not so with wind chimes. I went 6 whole months and didn't mind my own at all. Their mingled voices, minnow bright, sent my contentment back to me like silver balls, and last night, after your call, I got the hammer out and flattened them one by one against the dead stone wall. Okay, this one's called Selected Nightmares. It's kind of heavy. There's some funny parts. Selected Nightmares. Sometimes the good guy goes off script, goes evil, and an unsheathed hunting knife appears between you on the kitchen table. It is so out of sync, so funny, that you don't reach for it, don't react in time, but he does, and the wind picks up. Sometimes you draw your fist back, move to make a break for it, and nothing. Sometimes you are driving along a familiar road, not paying attention, and a sinkhole opens wide in front of you. You're always going far too fast to stop. Don't bother trying the brakes. They never work. Sometimes your mom is in the car with you. Sometimes she's screaming. Sometimes she is standing in the road between the sinkhole and your brakeless speeding car. Sometimes a huge, panting composite of your top 5 scary dogs is real and chasing you. Sometimes you feel its breath against your legs. You feel your flesh tear in its teeth. Sometimes you kick it, and it morphs into the kind of dog you'll feel ashamed of kicking later. Sometimes you are falling from the sky, just falling from the sky. You don't recall the fatal flaw that sent you falling from the sky, but you are yellow with remorse for it, so sorry as you fall forever, certain you will die. And sometimes you are dying, slowly, of mysterious diseases, and sometimes you feel fine and only guess that you must be dying because people keep buying you flowers and telling you they love you. And sometimes a filthy clown emerges from the woods and you are quite alone and miles from anybody's birthday. And sometimes you are pregnant. Often you are pregnant. And sometimes the father is a succubus demon, but not usually. Usually he's a friend of yours who's not your husband, or better yet, he is your husband's friend. Occasionally you do get lucky and it's only aliens and they only want to cut your baby out and raise it to be David Bowie. This is not a real nightmare, however. Please see Selected Delusions of Grandeur. Sometimes you're pregnant with a loaded gun. Sometimes you give birth to a son and he comes at you with a loaded gun. Or else he looks just like your mother when he screams. Or else he looks just like the little dog you never meant to kick that day in grade school. Or else you have been hopelessly wrong about everything all this time and you only thought that you were pregnant. But you see it now. You are still falling from the sky. Okay. This one is called Fallow Song. I am trying. Scum is also trying. Flies also are trying, and not only when distorted by the convex lens of metaphor, not only trying as in praying, as in tiny hands working the beads of some atomic rosary, but really trying like I'm trying for a full breath against centuries of doctors' orders to buck up or lay low. Instead, I am trying for a fracture, leaning on the whalebone fence. I broke a rib, for instance, laughing once. I say my eyeliner is capitalist dirt. It seems like pay dirt sometimes. Sometimes I say it is a kind of conclusion or a contusion, like a bruise. Seems like a bruise speaks to the opposite of giving up. All right, last one. This one is called A Few More Lines for the Torturer's Horse. Probably those of you who are Auden fans or have read any Auden will be familiar with Musée des Beaux-Arts, which is one of his more famous poems. And there's a line in it about the torturer's horse scratching its innocent behind against a tree while catastrophe happens elsewhere. And so I thought that was interesting, and I chose to make a poem out of it. So this is called A Few More Lines for the Torturer's Horse. There is a contradiction in the darkened barn where your tack hangs. Stirrups and halters, stainless bits, hoof trimmers, forceps, buggy whip, iron hooks like little violent moons, the scythes of lesser gods. These tools of upkeep, ownership, and care have near twin siblings hung up elsewhere, used for different purposes. But you don't know this horse. His tools are innocent, easily cleaned and put away, and every inch as unaccountable as you were the first day your master hitched you to a doomed man's jerking limb. And afterwards, he washed you gently, rinsed your hide until the water ran off clear, not red or red and brown. He rubbed you down, called you a good horse, cleaned your teeth and picked the rocks out of your shoes. He whistled Darling Clementine and led you out to graze beside your favorite tree. He used his tools that day in ways that made you love him. Horse, I know how you love him, hopelessly, as any kept thing loves whatever is most merciful to it. And this is innocence itself, and you are blameless in your love of his warm hands, coarse as they are, against your withers, teasing clots of blood out of your tangled mane. Thank you so much.